Setting up systems and processes is crucial for any business, regardless of size. Whether you're a solo entrepreneur or leading a large team, having a well defined system in place prevents the inevitable burnout that results from inefficiencies and constant firefighting. Without these mechanisms, you'll find yourself tirelessly working in a chaotic environment, experiencing a frustrating cycle of temporary fixes and recurring issues. But by implementing structured processes, you can really ensure smoother operations, reduce stress, and focus on growth and innovation rather than merely surviving day to day challenges. What's up, everyone? This is Fit for Business with me, Jarod Lehn. If you could do us a favor, if you're watching on YouTube and tap that subscribe button, or if you are listening on Spotify, go ahead and tap that follow button. Welcome to episode 30. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm the owner and founder of Socialtopia, a social media marketing agency based out of Monroe, New York. We've been in business now for just over 6.5 years. Our agency primarily partners with fitness entrepreneurs and home service professionals, helping them elevate their brands and achieve their marketing goals. Join me on today's episode is Jamie J. Jamie is an accomplished Army veteran who seamlessly transitioned from military life to entrepreneurship. He's also the insightful author of Quit Repeating Yourself, a book that offers valuable lessons on leadership and personal development. Beyond his literary contribution, Jamie is the innovative founder and business owner of Bottleneck Assistance, a company dedicated to providing high-quality remote staffing. His diverse experiences and expertise make him a unique and inspiring guest. Welcome to the show, sir. And
Thank you.
first and foremost, I want to say thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So, Jamie, thanks for joining us on the pod today. And yeah, I mean, if you wouldn't mind telling our guests a little bit about yourself, I don't know how much I already shared, but
Yeah, no, thank you. What a great introduction. I really appreciate Jarod having me on here. I love this stuff. This is a lot of fun for me, and I love being able to share and kind of give back a little bit. I was talking to some friends this weekend, and one of my friends' wives came over and said, "Hey, you wrote that book, Quit Repeating Yourself." And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, my husband was telling me." Well, I'm a teacher in high school, and I teach an entrepreneur class. And I said, "They teach that?" And she's like, I'd love to have you come in and talk to the kids." And I was like, "Man, how freaking cool is that in high school?" Because I didn't have that when I went to school. I mean, I don't know, ages ago.
yeah. I mean, listen, I'll date myself. I graduated in '79, brother.
Oh, did you really? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh man, you're looking good then. I graduated in '88.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a minute, and yeah, good for you,
So
man.
I got some more skin in the game than you.
Well, you can tell you're doing a lot of hiking and working out. It's doing you right.
Hey man, well you're on the farms, man. Pulling tractors rather than driving them.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that is cool. I know they have the entrepreneur courses in college, but I didn't know about high school. Now that's riveting. And now where is that located?
That's in a town called Spokane, Missouri, and it's way out there in the sticks. If they have 5,000 people live in Spokane, I'll be pretty amazed.
The population in
The
general.
population in general, like it's a pretty
Wow.
well spread out area, but I just think it's so fascinating, and it's amazing to see. You know what I've seen, because I've lived in the big cities, in California, Las Vegas, and stuff like that. But I kind of live out in the sticks a little bit. But there's one big difference that I see with the kids that I run into out here versus the kids that I ran into because I used to be a hockey coach, so I loved working with, and the kids I coached were 12 to 15 years old. It's not the easiest group
Mm.
of kids to work with. One of the biggest things I've seen is the work ethic is amazing. Now, there's a lot of farms, it's a lot of ranches, but man, it's pretty cool to see. Like, I know kids that are 17 and under that will come and know how to fix my tractor. It's just insane, and I just love that, and I almost feel like in some cases we're kind of getting away from that, and it's a little scary, wondering about our future. But then I see all these
Mm.
other kids that are doing all these amazing things. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty refreshing to hear stuff like that.
So now the kids, and the consensus is that, Jamie, you're saying, so kids more that are like in the sticks per se, you're saying, are kind of the ones that are just more like the purebreds, is kind
Yeah,
of like what you're just
I
seeing.
don't want to. I don't want to discount anything from the city kids, right? Like, but
1,000%.
it's just a different thing. We were talking to a kid a couple weeks ago, and he worked, saved up money, bought an old truck, saved up more money, fixed up this old truck, and he was so excited when we saw him because he plays guitar in a little band. And I think he's 18, maybe now, maybe 19, but he worked so hard and goes to school full time, works full time. But he wanted us to hear the how this truck sounded because he put this special exhaust on there and he started up and he was gassing. He's like, "What do you think?" And we're like, "Oh, that's cool!" But he did it all
Yeah,
himself, you know. And I just thought, man,
great work ethic.
that's pretty dang cool. And again, that's where I'm at right now, so that's why I can talk about that. I don't want to say, oh, city kids are terrible or anything. It's just I've seen a little difference. There's a bit of a difference in nuance as far as being able to fix things with your hands. I think is really, really important, but also the drive they have to, work, and they have these goals. And, we have another friend. He's 25. He owns 3 homes. Um, he manages a marina. He's just such a nice guy. And it's really neat to see that kind of stuff. I'm just a big fan.
No, I mean, I agree with you. It's refreshing to hear about, and it comes down to
Yeah.
work ethics and motivation, and just like the ability to continue to want to do more, I guess you could say. And I think that's amazing to hear, that you're able to run into, all walks of life, starting from like early teenage years, to, the middle 20s, that's pretty fascinating. So, Jamie, can you share like some type of pivotal moment from like your entrepreneurial journey where you might have faced significant setbacks, and how'd you go about like overcoming those setbacks?
Oh, well, I've got a million of them. Well,
I love it.
probably about 372, I think is no. No, we got, so when I first got out of the military, um, I I went to lunch with my wife and she asked me for a divorce and I found myself homeless. That was a challenge. And I remember
And how old were you at that time?
I was 23. I think I was 23, 24.
You were a baby.
23.
You were a
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird begging for, something to eat at McDonald's, and people are like, oh, who is, but you could tell I was fresh out of the military. I had my high and tight and my army duffel bag. That's all I had on me. Yeah. That was pretty gnarly. And then I've been homeless 3 times in my life. Once as a kid and twice as an adult. If you're talking about the challenges of entrepreneurship, in 2008, we got hit with a housing crisis. Well, I had an ad agency that was real estate focused. So I lost all of our clients, 72 clients, in the span of about 3 months. And I found myself living back with my parents. That was terrible, right? Like, that was brutal. And I promised myself at that point, because I had no fallback, I didn't plan on that. I said, the next thing I do, it's not going to be recession proof. It's impossible to know what's going to happen in the future, but I am going to be recession ready. So I wanted to put myself into a position to where, if something extraordinary occurred, we'd make it through there. And then what happened in 2000? Like, it was like wham, and we lost about 62% of our business. Which is kind of ironic. You would think we would thrive in that environment, but nobody was doing anything. Everybody was scared to do anything. And so,
Well, and then, the budgets got, they were trying
oh,
to salvage budgets,
oh,
salvage any money anywhere they
it
could.
was brutal. It was brutal. I
Yeah.
mean, people were getting laid off. People were, going home and trying to work, but they didn't have systems or processes in place for all that. Meanwhile, we did. Like, that's how
Yeah.
I've been doing this 18 years.
Yeah.
And I love systems and processes and workflows and documenting and all that stuff. And what happens if this goes wrong? What happens if this goes wrong? What happened if this person calls in sick? What do we do? What happened if this person leaves? So we have all of this documentation so that we can cover ourselves in those cases. And that's what I mean by being recession ready instead of recession proof. You have roles and you have responsibilities within those roles, and it needs to be documented in such a way that if Jarod, you and I worked together, and you were the Michael Jordan of this organization. You said, "You know what, Jamie, I got this other opportunity. I'm going to go follow that." Or, "You know what, I'm going to go hike the Appalachian Trail." Right? I'm going to be sitting there like, "Okay," and you're like, "Okay, see you later." Well, where's if someone calls? Where's that document? How do I know how to do this? Who do I call for this? And if you don't have that readily available, you're in essence not scalable. It's going to be very challenging for you to be able to do any work if you don't know where everything is at, or you don't have a guide to let you know how everything works and why it does and what role occurs there. And so that's what I learned from my biggest challenge in when I lost the agency there. And I think that was in 2008. And I literally started hiring distant assistants in 2005. So it's been a while that I've been doing this, and I just absolutely love it. If it weren't for systems and processes, I would probably have some pretty serious anxiety.
Yeah, it's deep. I mean, so going back to like a topic, which is, not really off topic, but you brought it up, there was like some pretty lows in your life, it seemed like, from the span when you were, a young kid, to like an adult, not, finding yourself in a position where you were homeless. I got to ask, how did you get through those times? Like what kept you going?
Man, my ma was absolutely amazing. The guy that she married adopted us at the age of 5, and I found ourselves homeless. I was 15. My brother was 13, living in a 1979 brown Suburban with 2 toy poodles. It was him, my mom, my brother, and me. And he was going around. He went to the, I don't know what you call them, the discount store, and he got a suit for like $10. I'll never forget. It was a bright green suit. It was terrible, but it was like all he had. And he was trying to go on job interviews, and he had messed up. He later went to jail, by the way, for embezzlement, and we found ourselves out again. But what I did, I remember we wanted to get a shower so bad, and so I went and got a job at McDonald's. I had just turned 16, because I think you had to be 16 to get a job there. And I remember my mom and brother would come through the drive-thru, and my brother would order 20 chicken McNuggets, the boxes where you could order 20.
Sure.
And I'd just stuff it as much as I could. And it was like bent over at the top. And yes, I shouldn't have done that. That was not good. But you know what? We needed the food. And then they would throw out all the burgers and all that stuff. I'd go and get the thrown out burgers. So I remember after getting my first paycheck, I was able to get us 3 nights at a hotel, and it was at the Pitcairn Motel. And if anybody has been to Disneyland in California in Buena Park, it's right off of the main drag there. And back before they fixed it up, it was full of everything bad on the streets you can think of, drugs and prostitution. And it was so scary, but that's the only place that we could really get into. But we were able to stay there 3 days. But it was scary because I had to walk, to McDonald's, which wasn't that far away. But just seeing that stuff I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And I was like, how in the world, how did we, get into this stuff? So I've always had that fear of losing. And it happened again. And then it happened again. It happened 2 more times. And so it's like, wow, I never want to feel that feeling again. So that I think there is one of my biggest motivators and biggest drivers to build an organization that, quite frankly, I'm replaceable in that we have all the systems and processes in place to give me a sense of confidence, knowing that, if it hits the fan again in some capacity, I've got some kind of blowback, some kind of fallback to lean.
So, yeah, thanks for sharing. I know that's very personable, and that I can't fathom what that puts anyone, not to mention someone that's 15, 16 years of age, and how that kind of molds and shapes you into the person that you are. But here you are, smiling and happy and over the moon. Um, I, implore you for that. What was like the actual inspiration for you starting, bottleneck assistance?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because I didn't come up with the name bottleneck. My friend Mark Hafner did. And he actually said, Jamie, you're the bottleneck. And I said, that's kind of a great name, you know? But the reason I think I started Bottleneck is because I, at the time, had a creative web agency. And man, that is some hard work, you know, and it's just never ending. And you have to do a lot of work. And if you're basically trading time for money, and I wanted to really figure out a way that I could make some money and leverage my time more efficiently. And quite frankly, I thought I'd make a lot of money when I got into it. I really did. That's the God's honest truth. Um, and it was difficult to start up. You're thinking like there's not a lot of overhead. Well, you're in the people business, so there's quite a bit of overhead. You know, it's tough. Pay periods are on the 1st and 16th, and boy, we know it. Like, you know, you got to. It's a big, big check to write, so to speak, every couple of weeks, and that's a lot of weight on your shoulders. But I think probably it happened. No, I don't know, a little while ago, where a couple of years back, where one of my clients, who turned out to be a pretty decent friend of mine, had called me on a Saturday, and this was in June. I think it was probably 4 years ago, I would imagine. And I almost didn't answer because I was working before this. I was working 80 hours a week, literally. I mean, I'd go to bed at
Yeah.
1 or 2 in the morning and be up at 6 or 7 working, or maybe 3 or 4 in the morning and getting up at 9 or 10. Like it was crazy.
And like, let me ask you this question as, owner, operator, entrepreneur, obviously, we say, you kind of work 24/7, but do you try to personally put up like walls and boundaries, like, hey, I do need my time with my family, so it's a Saturday, but where you, so that I don't know if like that's where your mindset was, like, hey, it's a Saturday, I kind of need this time by myself, but let me pick up and see what's going on, type of thing.
Yeah, well, had it not been for my wife saying, Jamie, you need to freaking reevaluate and calm down because this is not healthy. And I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay. She's like, I'm not okay. You got to stop doing this. And so she was actually the catalyst for me figuring this out. Right. And this took several years to figure out really what I wanted and how I could operate my life. And so this gentleman called me on a Saturday, and I almost didn't answer, but I did. And I said, what are you doing calling me on a Saturday? He goes, I'm not working. I just want you to know this is the first Saturday I've taken off this year. And it's thank you. It's because the assistant's taking care of all that admin stuff. It's working really well. And I was like, oh, that's freaking awesome. I said, what are you going to do? And he goes, well, I'm hanging out with my kid and my wife right now. We're going to go to dinner and a movie. And I said, oh, that's fantastic, which made me think that's what created my ripple effect at Bottleneck, is that because now he's taking care of his own backyard, but now he's reaching out locally, and he's supporting other entrepreneurs because of his improvements in his life that he made. And I thought this was pretty amazing. But then the phone wrestled away, and his wife said, Jamie, thank you for giving me my husband back. And I'm pretty big, Harley riding, tattoo, beard, like I'm a pretty tough guy. But that went right through me, right? Like, you can yell and be mad at me all you want. I got thick skin. That's cool. I get it. But boy,
Yeah.
man, that one got me. And I thought, holy crap. Like, we literally helped this relationship, or supported this relationship, kind of in a weird way, like,
Mm,
removed from them. But because of this service that we created,
sure.
they were able to improve their life. And all of a sudden, my mindset, something clicked,
Ding, ding, ding.
and it just went, yeah, I want to make money, but that's not the driver. The driver is, how many more people can I give them a similar opportunity? And that became our driver.
Not the money.
Don't get me wrong, the money's good,
No, yeah, no,
but
it's just
it it replaced it as
for
priority.
sure. It really, it sounds cliche, right? Obviously, we start businesses to. You're not a nonprofit. You're a for-profit company, right?
Yeah,
So you start a company because you want to make profit, you want to generate revenue. But and if you hear all these like big speakers talking like, "Hey, if you do it for the money, it's not going to work," and I believe that wholeheartedly to be true. Like, I get it. We all get in this game of entrepreneurship for different reasons. And we have, some of us have the big eye on the prize, like, we want to grow this thing, we want to, get the money, we want to be free. But the freedom, I think, is deciphered in different ways to like what you're describing and explaining. And I think once that light goes off and you see that and you see the bigger picture other than money, I think that's when the magic happens.
I agree.
Here's a question that I wanted to ask you based off of your background, specific geared to the military. What made you join the military, and would you do it all over again?
I had touched base earlier. My dad was arrested for embezzlement, and that left us kind of out in the wind. It was my mom, who was a social worker, so she was doing okay, but you know, I was what 20, and my brother was 18, and I felt like I was a big burden, and so I went actually with one of my friends. We said, "Let's do this buddy thing. We'll sign up." So I signed on the line. My buddy said, "You know what, Jimmy, I can't pull the trigger." So he didn't join, and I went ahead and joined, and came home and told my mom, and she didn't like that. She was so sad, and she felt hurt, and she was crying. But I said, "Ma, this is for the best. I think I'll get paid. I'll get I'll learn a lot. I'll get a good education, get some discipline in my life." And it was probably. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I'm out. Don't get me wrong. It was not easy. It was a hard time. Uh, I was in for 3 years exactly, and that was when Clinton was having the government drawdown, and if you had 3 years in or more, you could get out if they wanted. And when they assigned me to my unit in Germany, it was I was not having fun, even though I spoke nearly fluent German. I was our translator. I took 9 years of German in school. Like I loved Germany, but the unit I was attached to was challenging. I loved the 82nd. I absolutely loved the 82nd. The day I,
82nd Airborne, right? So did you go to? Was it like not Camp? Is it Camp
no,
Lejeune
no, no,
or is it
that's Marines.
or Fort Bragg?
Yeah, it was Fort Bragg. So I went to jump school and all that stuff in Fort Benning, and then landed at the second 325 in the 82nd, and I absolutely dug it. It was so fun.
What year did you go in?
I went in 90 and got out in 94.
1994.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. There was very little things I disliked about it. It was just a lot of fun. The camaraderie. I mean, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. I was fortunate to do it 29 times in the year and a half I was stationed there, and I just loved it, man. It was just it was just what a rush. Everything we did was high speed, go fast. And a 21, 22-year-old kid, that's good times, I didn't pass. I got selected for Ranger School, but I didn't finish what they call as RIP, or Ranger Indoctrination Program. If anybody goes into Ranger School, they know RIP's a 3-week course that qualifies you to go into the 60-day Ranger School. And I fell out of that because I had shin splints. I felt like a loser, and my buddy, two of us got selected in our company. My buddy went on to go and become a ranger. I never got the tab, and that's one of those things that sit in your head all the time, like I failed, at doing that. But you know, and I think I probably wouldn't have been levied had I succeeded in getting the tab, which would have been really cool. But that was some fun stuff, man. I just loved it.
I can't. I never was in the military. I don't have any service, but I had like a lot of family and close friends, and one of my close friends was paratrooper, 82nd Airborne, Fort Bragg. So I have been down there quite a few times to hang out on base, and that was prior to 9/11, before all like the security got tightened and like heightened even more so.
Yeah.
So I would like literally would like somehow managed to get. I'll say this on the pod, but somehow we had a lot of fun nights, and I managed to go to the chow hall with them without being
Oh wow.
Yeah, it happened. I don't know how he squeezed me in there, but
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, when I was in, there was no cell phones or anything, and I think it's weird because my daughter, she's attached to the Fourth Infantry Division in Fort Carson,
yeah.
Colorado, and she goes out to the field and she's sending me pictures, and I'm like, that's just so weird to me that you have a phone in the military out in the field. It just
Oh
different
yeah,
times.
it is interesting. So let me ask you this question, Jamie. When the topic of success comes to mind, who do you think of and why?
The topic of success comes to mind. Who do I think of and why?
Mm,
Gosh, man. So success for me is having time, right? And so when I look at that, it's not about the money. It's about being able to make decisions, kind of being able to choose what you want to do when you want to do it.
mm,
So I choose to work Tuesday through Thursday because I do enjoy this stuff, right? This kind of stuff, talking to you, and I love this,
yeah.
right? So that's my priorities, and I love meeting our clients. I love doing that stuff. But when I look to um, who is like who I would look up to for success, there's two people. First and foremost, there's my mom, and God rest her
Mm,
soul. She passed away in 2020. That was probably one of the most difficult times, and I write about that in my book.
mm,
And how I was able to step away from the company for almost 2 months, and came back to a company that had grown in my absence, which I thought was really cool. But she taught me the power of love, and it just I knew her my whole life, right? I just
yeah,
absolutely love my mom. She was the one person that was always there for me. And then
your cheerleader,
what's that?
your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. Well, and my wife, Sarah, she's a pretty big cheerleader too. She works with me. But I would say from a professional level, I would say probably my biggest influence, who I think is just an awesome dude. We don't agree on everything together, but that's part of the magic, and that's Christopher Lockhead. He's absolutely just he's probably the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. Um, and he would be
Yeah,
laughing right
I remember you speaking about him prior to the pod.
he'd be laughing right now if but he's such a cool dude. He's super smart, and he's kind of like in my opinion, the godfather of category design. He donated his time, which is amazing,
Mm,
to assist us when COVID hit, to create our own category, which is a distant assistant. And, he kind of came up with that, social distancing, distant assistant, and there's, it's just, I, after reading his book, I was like, wow, this is amazing. He wrote a book called Play Bigger with three other people. And we've just hung out for the last probably 8, 9 years, and is one of the rare people that I've actually met in person, right? And hung out with him in Santa Cruz and went on a bike ride around his neighborhood, and just man, he's just a cool dude, and he's
mm,
never done me wrong. He's never guided me in the wrong direction, but he's challenged me, and I love that.
mm.
He's amazing.
And how'd you all link up?
We actually linked up when he wanted to start a podcast. Um, I think it was 2014 or 2015, and
Okay, yeah, a while back.
I was introduced to him through another friend of mine because I used to be into podcasting pretty heavily, going around to all the podcast shows and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
that's how we connected. I think we got connected through Tom Schwab. It maybe, if memory serves me correctly, I'm not sure,
Mm.
but yeah, it was just we just hit it off, and I couldn't stop laughing. He's funny as all get out, but he's just brilliant. He's just a brilliant man.
Awesome. So I'm sure you've been asked this or prefaced this question a few times since the book came out, but what would you say inspired you to write, quit repeating yourself? Like, what was the catalyst behind that?
I was answering a lot of the questions. Like every time I talk to somebody, I'm answering the same questions over again, right? And I thought one of my favorite sayings is by a gentleman. His name is Scott Beebe, and it's "Do something as if it's the last time you're ever going to do it." And if you open up one of the first pages of my book, the entire page is blank with the exception of that quote. Do something as if it's
Mm.
the last time you're ever going to do it, by Scott Beebe. And what that means to me is, um, like, think of something you don't like doing, but you have to do in your business, right? Or something that you don't like doing, but yeah,
I can think of something.
right.
Yeah.
For me, it could be bookkeeping. I hate it. Or, reports,
Reports.
monthly reports.
Yeah, reports.
I hated spending 2 hours a day on email. It was not fun for me, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so what I do is, if I document how I do that, do it one more time, right? Do it one more time, go through that pain one more time in order to put yourself in a position to be able to delegate it to somebody else who can do it just like me, because I'm getting what I do out of my head written down or via video. And now, and maybe I don't hire yet, but now I can delegate that. And guess what? They're going to confirm it. They're going to read it back to me. We're going to set up an action that occurs so that they know and I know at the same time that that particular task is done. It's such an amazing, amazing way to live out your day. And that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted more people to get the opportunity to figure out, hey, this is the mindset you should have, not the mindset that most people, oh, I'm so busy. I just need somebody that knows what they're doing so that they can get this done. Well, no matter how good this person is in any specific role with any set of responsibilities within that role, no matter what, they still need your knowledge and they need you to set the expectations, because you may think things are done one way, they may think things are done the other way, even if they've used the same CRM or the same software as you do, but maybe they use it a bit differently. So all of a sudden your expectations are not going to be met and you're going to say, man, bottleneck sucks because I hired this person, they didn't know what they're doing. Well, did you spend a good 60, 90 days working with this person? Did you delegate tasks to them that were written down? Did they confirm these tasks back? Because we define a task in 4 steps. Number 1, name it. Everybody needs to know what that task means so it avoids confusion. Number 2, confirm it, meaning once I explain what to do, then you're going to confirm it back to me, repeat it back to me so that I know, yeah, that's right. Oh, don't forget this, right? And that way we can nip it in the bud right then and there and don't have to worry about problems occurring 6, 9, 12 months down the road. Third thing is review and approve it. Review and approve that. What does that mean? Once I document, or my assistant documents a task, they're going to send it back to me in a Google Doc or whatever it is, and I'm going to review that, and then I'm going to say, yes, that's right. And then the fourth thing is, and this is where most people miss out, create a signal. What does that mean? When that task is done, if you've ever asked anybody, hey, where are we at with this, right? To me, that's a pretty big waste of time. It'd be so much easier if somebody was proactive saying, hey, just let you know, this is where we're at, this is where we're at, this is where we're at. Well, this create a signal is what action needs to occur. Is it an update on Slack? Is it an update on my CRM? Is it an update on my, task management? What action?
Monday.com.
Yeah, there you go. Monday.com. Is it a phone call? What action needs to occur for me to know that that task has been complete? Once those 4 steps are defined in every single task and carried out, all of a sudden my confidence level in whoever I'm delegating to grows, and I'll delegate even more responsibility, right? So it really works out good when you have that kind of communication going. And for people that ask that question, where are we at on this project? That's a lack of communication on my part, on the leader's part, because we need to have weekly meetings, maybe daily huddles, 10-minute calls, but we need to be able to say, these are the priorities. This is what I want done. I need you to report back on all of this stuff, right? And if you don't consistently share that with your team, a lot of people think the reason why they quit jobs is because of their manager. That's an important reason. But the number one reason why people leave a position or a project is because of a lack of communications and expectations were not met. And that's where the butting heads come.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think lack of communication is one of the biggest flaws. It's just like in development overall. Like you're saying, whether it's quick team huddles, communication via Slack, communication via apps like Monday.com, Karma, whatever it may be. just keeping people in the loop and up to date with things that need to get accomplished throughout the day, week, and month.
Yeah.
Um, so Jamie, how do you go about, or how do you guys go about, staying adaptable in like the face of like market fluctuations? Because you've seen a different couple of fluctuations in the market since you've had, the company.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to our systems and processes, creating a workflow manual and a
Mm,
company manual. And we review those at a minimum every quarter. Because once you complete your workflow manual, which has in what we do is it has a table of contents, and then every single task is documented down to the click of a mouse button. It's insane. And all of our DAs are trained in workflow management so they can do that for our clients. But what happens is, say, it would say step one, go to this website. There's a picture of this website. Step two, in the upper right hand corner, click on login, right? Well, what happens if that software updates and those steps are now out of place? Or new technology comes in place where maybe we have AI enabled suggestions or something like that, and that tweaks. So that's how we stay up with stuff, because we're always looking for something that makes life easier for our clients, so that it's more, we want to be more suggestive to our clients. We want to bring them and guide them along, as opposed to them having to think, oh, wait, how does all of this work? Well, we want to be able to say, this is how everything works. As a matter of fact, day one, when they hire their assistant and they go in for that first meeting, our assistants lead that meeting. And people are like, how the heck does that happen? We just ask more questions, right? So that's probably it. How do we stay up with things? We update our processes no more than quarterly. And actually, right now, we're not even doing outbound marketing in any way, shape, or form right now, because we're reviewing and revising our current infrastructure so that we can update it properly with new steps. We have new hires that come in, all of that kind of stuff. So we're actually updating all of our processes as literally right now is the date of this recording.
Do you have a book that you've consumed more than once?
Play bigger.
If so, what about the book makes you drawn to it?
Yeah, play bigger. And this the category design toolkit, written by the Category Pirates. Um, if you're not, are you familiar with category design?
Yeah, spit on it a little bit.
Yeah. So category design is, it's basically creating your own category. If you think of the biggest, most popular categories in the world, you think Amazon, you think Apple, you think they are so unique, and there's so many people that go into those categories. If you have that, one of the biggest things I dislike is, oh, we got to have a nice go-to market strategy. You're going into a market and or a category that already exists. So you're actually already conforming to other people's ideas and concepts.
Right.
So now you're a super small fish in a massive ocean.
Mm,
How in the world do you differentiate yourself?
mm,
And so we don't say better or best here. We are not the best assistant company. We're not better than anyone else. We don't say that. We say we're radically different. And I learned this from Play Bigger and for Christopher Lochhead. And every time I go back and read that, I learn something new. It reminds
mm.
me. So category design is about thinking there is no box. There are no boundaries. You got to
Right.
create your own little whatever it is. And we thought, okay, here's the biggest challenges in the virtual assistant industry. By the way, a lot of people misunderstand what virtual means, because they think, oh, that means AI or chatbots or things. There's actual human beings that are virtual assistants. The
Right.
challenge is the 38% turnover and the 5-month lifetime value that you get on average with hiring a virtual assistant, say from the Philippines. And that's what gets put into people's head. They all say the same, oh, they don't speak English, or, they don't show up. I can't, they're so far away. How am I going to keep track of them? All this kind of stuff. Those are all the big challenges. And in the United States, it costs $4,780 to hire somebody here in the United States. I don't care if it's remote or here. It's all the time you spend in doing the research and doing the training. It's not cheap. If you let someone go, it could cost you up to 9 months' salary. It's expensive to hire, mishire, and fire and hire again.
Sure.
So we understand that. And our level of focus in creating a distant assistant is that we found that we now have an 8.7% turnover for our clients. That's unheard of. That's absolutely unheard of versus an average 38%, according to Outsource Accelerator.
Hmm.
Then the lifetime value, meaning how long they stay at that particular engagement, is 39 months versus 5 months. And why is that? Workflow manuals, defining the tasks, setting KPIs, doing business follow-ups, having our own internal HR reach out to all of these DAs on our customers' behalf. There's so many things that go on. Continued education, learning how to leverage the power of AI. Little things like that we can share with our team, and then by extension, the DAs that are working for our clients is massive. And when you work remotely, there can be some anxiety because you don't have social kind of interactions. And a lot of virtual assistants are on their own working for multiple clients. All of our assistants have all of us to support one another. As a matter of fact, next week, we're buying dinner for our assistants in the Philippines, and they're going to go out and we're going to do a big photo shoot and have dinner and have fun. We're not going to be there, but they're going to enjoy that time together, right?
Yeah.
Other virtual assistants don't have that.
So, yeah, thank you for sharing. I mean, that's a lot of good information that you're providing us and, the viewers here in the pod. Is there one core belief you have that's constant no matter what?
Did you say core belief?
Core belief. What's one core belief you personally have that's constant no matter what?
Trust.
Yeah,
which is scary. But
yeah, right.
Trust, pretty powerful.
Yeah, trust is powerful, right? They say you got to take a leap of faith first, and the trust part comes later, right?
Yeah, I trust pretty early on, and then we don't do contracts here. And the average client, like I said, is here with us for a little over 3 years. Our longest client's been with us over 8 years, and mine is trust. If they don't like working with us, leave. There's and I will tell you, we have one client right now that's not happy, which is not bad considering, but all of our other clients are happy. And we'll work with this client. We'll work it out. And guess what? If he wants to leave, leave. You can do whatever you want. And we are 100% subscription based. So everybody pays in advance, which is nice because we have zero AR. I love subscription based models, right? It's very predictive. But based on that trust factor, if they're 1 week into their 1 month obligation, we'll refund the money to them. I don't care what the reason is. If they say they want out, we'll get them out, because why keep people into contracts that are not happy? That's what really upset me about HubSpot. I do not trust HubSpot. They will not let you out of that contract no matter what. Even if the company goes under, they're going to come after you. It's not a good way to do business. And so, we don't want to be like that. Again, radical differentiation. And you don't find that too much more in the business world. I mean, I still do deals out at the ranch with a handshake. No contracts. And there's a bunch of good old boys out there that do the same thing. But we can't do that in the regular world, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's just, and that's, quite frankly, that's why we don't do a business with a big business or medium-sized business. Because the second they say, "Oh, I'm going to send the MOU to my attorney," I'm like, "Nope, we don't want to work with you guys." We had somebody come back and they marked up our MOU, which is Memorandum of Understanding, which, by the way, they don't sign. They just click on agree to terms, because I can't say everything in a 30-minute consultation, but I let them know everything that we do. This person came back with all these things marked out on our Memorandum of Understanding. I go, "This isn't even a contract. You're not even signing this." like, and I said, that's it. Yeah, we don't need your business. And so
Yeah.
we understand the power of no. And that took me a long time before I would have probably done everything, gone upside down and done whatever. And it would have ended up not working out anyways.
Hmm. Yeah, no, you have sometimes you got to learn that the hard way, right? And when you're running a business, that big powerful statement you just said, learning the power of no, learning when to kind of like, all right, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just not worth the pain, the aggravation, the headache that that this potential prospect client could bring to you and your team.
Yep.
So I think it takes people a lot longer because maybe at the beginning you're kind of just trying to get everybody and anybody into the system to get the revenue, but at the same time, I think you have to be, people in general, when you're running and operating a business, you have to be wary. And you have to make sure these people, these clients, I think assimilate with your core values, right? And I think that's what it comes down to. Um, so I'm a fan of this, right? How you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm.
Do you agree or disagree with this quote?
Yeah. There's some things that I don't put 100% effort into,
Mm,
things that may not give me energy. So I don't agree with that in that in some cases I go full bore, full 100%.
sure.
So it's not 100% in everything I do, and it's probably the wrong way to think because you have to be present. So whatever you're doing, do the best you can at at
Mm,
whatever you're doing at that particular time. You're doing something for a reason. Why not make the
yep.
best of it, right? But that doesn't always work out for me. Sometimes I do stuff and I'm frustrated and in a bad mood. And I had to clean up some stuff this weekend. I did not like it. I was complaining, and I don't do that when I come to work or I hop on a call here. I use a lot more energy. So, yeah, I like that saying. But if I'm completely honest, I probably
Oh,
live like I
that's
should.
that's a whole beauty, right? You're have your own opinion. So my next segue is, so that happens to be one of my favorite quotes. I tell all my guests, and I'm going to continue to leave that as a question. It's something I have on my wall that I've had even before I started Social Topia back in 2017. That's my favorite quote. Do you happen to have a favorite quote that consumes you, or maybe you have printed out, or you kind of just live, eat, and breathe by?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. Do something as if it was the last time you're ever going to do it. Document, document, document.
Mm.
Um, and so I will tell you when's the best time to plant a tree?
What was that? The best time to
Plant a
plant a
tree.
tree? I don't know the exact answer to that
It's
question.
20 years ago. When's
20
when's the second best time to plant a tree?
today.
Today. And that's what I always say about people that when you're starting out in a business or you've been running it for a while and you're starting to grow and things like that, the best time to start documenting your business was day one. As soon as you start doing something, write it down. You may not be in a position to hire now, but if you are definitely wanting to grow and scale, you're eventually going to need support in some way, shape, or form. The
Hmm.
more you spend time documenting processes as if it was the last time you were ever going to do it, meaning document it clearly, right? When it does come time to hire somebody, usually when it's very chaotic, is when you say, okay, that's it, I got to hire somebody. Well, if you don't have documentation in place, it's going to make that learning curve increase drastically. Whereas if you had everything documented, it will literally decrease that learning curve. And you'll have whoever you're coming in to work with you, you'll have the confidence knowing that, hey, everything that you're doing, you've got a step-by-step guide, right? So that would be my advice for people is if you're a growing company, you're new, you're finally getting busier, you're starting to get overwhelmed, you're working later, you're working on the week. I'm talking about don't do it all at once, it's too much, but maybe block off an hour a week or 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week
Hmm.
and start documenting. The next time you send out an email, document how you sent out that email. It's going to take you 15 or 20 minutes, but do it.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden you start getting more comfortable with how you document what works for you. Do I do it on video? Do I do it on Google Docs or whatever? And that's kind of how you build the foundation. Two things come out of that. Number one, whenever you delegate, you're confident because they have a step-by-step guide that you did. Number two, if you ever get ready to exit, you now make yourself replaceable, which is a good thing because I don't want to spend 12, 15, 18 months in a transitionary role because I have to be here in order for the company to run. No,
Mm.
I want somebody to come in, buy my company, and I'm gone. Everything is documented. Jarod, thanks so much for letting me